You know, niggas gotta get their priorities together. Got their mind on the wrong things, spending their money in the wrong way.
Trapaholics, real trap shit.
Say you need that car with the rims and that charm, just like Jim. It's more than life. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Talk to him.
Say you need that LV bag
For what?
with the belt and the hat.
That's all you got though.
It's more than life. Yeah.
Talk to him. Real.
Say you wanna turn up at the club,
Why?
buy some bottles, impress them girls.
what?
It's more than life.
Oh, fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And who dat? And I'm Ethan. And there's a lot to get into, and I guess we'll just go ahead and do that right now. And with that, can I get a menu? And usually, I think I mentioned this before, a lot of times I like to rewatch the games and stuff, but due to that game, how it played out, it being a defensive struggle, and I actually enjoy defensive games, but that game, on top of it being a defensive struggle, it had that fallacy in it, on top of it turning into kind of a flag fest there as well, and just kind of turned into a slog, and I just kind of want to erase that game from my memory a little bit, so I just kind of marked it up as a non-rewatch for me. So I just didn't rewatch it, but I'm still going to talk about it a little bit before I move on to the Panthers game, because I think there's some comforting and some satisfaction that came out after it. You know, the suspension and stuff that happened, that Mike Evans got. I think that there's some comforting things that came from it, and that just is that even though the Buccaneers won, I feel as if I don't think the Buccaneers fans and fans that don't like the New Orleans Saints, I don't think they really got to enjoy the win as much as they thought they were going to, you know, because it's a dirty win for them. It's not a clean win, you know. And now that Mike Evans is suspended for the game against the Green Bay Packers, and then after the Packers game, they have to play the Kansas City Chiefs. I think a lot of Buccaneers fans are kind of staring down possibly 2 losses in a row and maybe a 2-2 record, and definitely maybe if they don't lose to the Green Bay Packers, there's a good chance they're definitely going to get mollywopped by Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, if nothing else. And I just think, and a lot of them, if nothing else, they're definitely salty about Mike Evans getting suspended, and Marshawn Lattimore getting nothing. I just haven't seen much on social media, Twitter, Facebook. Not very many of them are just celebrating and talking trash about winning against the Saints. So that's comforting to me. And then on top of this, you know, the Saints they play Carolina, and so that really should be a game that the Saints should win. So if they can win that game, and then they play Carolina, that's a game they should win. And then I guess it's supposed to be a home game against Minnesota, but it's actually over in London, and it's against Minnesota. And Minnesota, they look pretty. I mean, the Philadelphia, they look great against Minnesota, and they beat them bad. but then I guess Minnesota and Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson looked amazing against Green Bay. So it's kind of hard to tell what Minnesota is exactly. But if Marshawn Lattimore or Paulson Adebo is healthy and they can at least, I think pretty much if you shut down Justin Jefferson, then I think you maybe shut down the Vikings. I think that's kind of how it is with the Vikings. But if the Saints can get 2 wins in their next 2 games and can get to 3-1, and then say the Buccaneers drop their next 2 games, the Saints will be right back in position. They'll be leading the South again. And say if Jameis Winston plays good, looks decent, not even great in those games, just good to decent in those next 2 games, everything will be all well again. Everything will be just fine again. So that's something that I think is kind of comforting, and to take some comfort in this, that a little bit of satisfaction that I take from that suspension, and kind of looking at the Buccaneers schedule, because they have 2 tough games lined up with Green Bay without, and they're going to be without Mike Evans, and then obviously they play Kansas City Chiefs, who you could argue is the best team maybe in the league, or at least the best team in the AFC after maybe Buffalo. You flip flop the Buffalo Bills with them, so things could be looking up for the New Orleans Saints. So the NFC South could be quickly correcting itself for us. So just there's some light at the end of the tunnel for the Saints. So then on top of that, it's hard to say really about Jameis Winston. I don't really know how fast something like his back is healing. I don't know if he'll ever be right during the season due to his back. But the rest of the team, if you've looked at the 2 injury reports on Wednesday and Thursday, everyone's listed as just limited practice. Everyone's been limited. There's a bunch of them listed for limited practice. It's close to, I think, almost 10 guys are listed on limited practice, but everyone's limited. Alvin Kamara is limited, and Paulson Adebo is finally back from his limited practice. He's limited practice 2 days in a row. So hey, the Saints are finally getting healthy. So hey, that's something to look up for, and so my main thing with all that is just, does something like Jameis Winston, does that actually ever get better, or is that something that like only gets better during the off season, or would that be something that he would actually have to sit out of games for, that Andy Dalton would have to come in for him to rest actually for? Does that get better throughout the season? But Alvin Kamara is finally back. They said it was fractured rib cartilage, so I guess that healed a little bit. But hey, that on top of the correction, like I said, comforting things. I mean, that's very comforting that everyone's practicing now. So hey, that's something as well. So that's very that's another bright spot, that everyone's practicing. So that's nice. Finally, because that was driving me crazy on last part. I was about to lose it with all the injuries, but there might be 10 guys on the injury report, but at least they're practicing. So I guess we'll move on to the Panthers game now. And I always just like, we know our guys, but I like to talk about other players to watch, the opposing players to watch. So when we're getting burned by them, we know who they are, or or if they're not making a statement, we know that they're getting shut down, I guess. And these couple guys have shown up, I guess, in the first two games, and that's Robbie Anderson. I sometimes call him Roby Anderson. I've heard some people call him both Roby Anderson, Robbie Anderson. But he had a good game the first game against Cleveland Browns. He had like 5 catches for like 100 yards, and that's what he's always kind of been in his first couple of years. He's always been a deep threat, so that'd be something to watch. He played for the Jets, I think, and he played for the Jets last year, or I don't know if it was last year, but he played. Yeah, I think he played for the Jets with Darnold. Yeah, he played with Darnold, who's with the Panthers as well, and so he's a deep threat and had 5 catches for 107 yards in the first game against Cleveland. So be interesting to see if he gets loose on any of our corners or anything like that. But he'd be someone to watch. And then DJ Moore, we all know about DJ Moore. He's lit the Saints up in the past, and he's actually had pretty decent games against even Lattimore in the past, and he hasn't had like 100-yard game this season. So of course it would be fitting that he ends up having a great game this year in this game. So definitely DJ Moore would be someone to watch in this game. And then of course it looks like CJ McCaffrey is healthy so far this season. Hasn't pulled up lame or anything yet, but I think he did show up on the injury report with an ankle or something. He was limited in practice or something. His ankle is stiff or something. He showed up on the injury report on Thursday, but didn't have anything before. So that's something to watch, I guess. And he didn't have a big game in the game against Cleveland, but then he did have 100 yards again in the game against the New York Giants, but they lost both games. And then Brian Burns, he had 2 sacks last week against the New York Giants. So that's with the amount of sacks that Jameis Winston's already taken this year. Definitely want to keep him away from Jameis Winston with him in his back. But then talking about just the Panthers quarterback, he's not really someone to watch, but that would be awful if he ends up having a great game against the Saints. That would be embarrassing, seeing how he's been pretty terrible to start the season. I think he's only been completed like 50% of his passes or something like that. And that would just be humiliating if somehow he has a great game or something against the Saints and they somehow win. That would make me want to puke. And just this game overall, I guess, kind of want to talk about Jameis Winston. I feel if he has a bad game against the Panthers and the Saints don't win this game, I think you probably will see a good chance you probably will see Andy Dalton probably against the Vikings in London. And also, this is something I wanted to show people. I'm wondering, probably just for luck. Do I need to wear this for the games? This is my own personal Saints Super Bowl ring. This is actually my class ring from 2009 that I had made, and it was fitting because I graduated in 2009, and what a coincidence that the Saints actually won their Super Bowl in 2009, and that was, talk about good luck with that, because it even has 2009 on it and everything. Got my name, Ethan, on it. So there were little stretches where I used to wear this every game day, but I'm superstitious, and sometimes they would lose when I would wear it, and sometimes they would win when I wear it, and when they would lose a couple times, then I would stop wearing it. But I don't know. Maybe I should wear it. I don't know. So maybe some people should let me know. I don't know, but we'll see. I just wore it and thought I'd show it to the people here on the podcast. Maybe I just need to wear some more gold here, black and gold. But anyways, go to the hot takes now. And for my hot take, I think I guess Alvin Kamara missed last week, so I think he's going to play. I think his ribs are going to be okay enough that he's going to play, and I think he's going to catch a pass for a touchdown. I think either Jameis Winston or Andy Dalton, if he comes in, is going to connect with him for a touchdown pass, and so on top of that, I think the Saints are actually going to win big. I'm going to go out on a limb. I guess you could say that's a hot take as well. And I think the Saints are going to win big, and I think they're actually going to win big. I think their defense is going to play well again, and I think they're going to hold the Panthers to 14, and I think the Saints are going to score 31 points. And I think that's all I have for you. And who dat? And can I get a check, please?